Ciao, buongiorno, and here I am with something that I think is going to be very useful for you. The one thing that I get asked the most from my students is articles, how to understand articles and how to know when to use which one. I know it looks complicated, but I promise you it's not. I have a pretty cool way to help you understand how Italian articles work. So whether you're a beginner who has no clue about articles and is scared of 7 articles for saying the, or you're intermediate or even advanced. I sometimes hear advanced students who have great Italian and still not using the right article, and I think it's a lot simpler than we think. So let's have a look at first why this could be a problem and why it's not. So, as you may know, Italian has a bunch of articles. Now, the first thing that you should understand is, you probably know, so Italian has gender. So every noun, every word in Italian language is either masculine or feminine for no particular reason. It's got nothing to do with who's using the word or what the object looks like. It's just random, so don't struggle too much with that. Once you know what gender a word is, then Italian also has number, like English. So is it singular or is it plural? So do you have one apple or do you have 2 or many apples? Once you figure that out, then you're left with a bunch of possibilities. And so more space. Just to give you an example, these are the 5 options for masculine. So it's either il, lo, l apostrophe, gli, or I. And the options for feminine would be and le. So la, l apostrophe, and le. Now, so there's like a bunch of articles. So when do you use which one? Let's start with singular nouns. Let's start with feminine because it's a much simpler scenario. Italian words that are singular and feminine use la. So that's kind of the basic idea. So you have la mela, the apple, la ragazza, the girl, la pizza, the pizza. So simple, simple, simple. How do you know a word is feminine? Usually it ends with a. So you can assume that in most cases, there's only a bunch of exceptions, most words that end with a are going to be singular feminine. So you're going to use la to talk about them. Now, when the word starts with a vowel, any vowel, and it's feminine, like for example, acqua, amica, arte. Okay? Or, so the article in those cases, it's not going to be la, like that, not. But let me show you what happens and why we don't say la. When you have la acqua, la amica, la arte, or let's talk about erba, which is grass. When you have 2 vowels, what happens in Italian, it sounds easier to pronounce and it's better to hear if we get rid of the a of la. So instead of saying la acqua, we just say l'acqua. Instead of saying la amica, we say l'amica. It's faster, isn't it? Instead of saying, l'arte, we say l'arte. And instead of saying la erba, we say, l'erba. Okay, so that's the idea, but why is it all happening? What happens is something that happens in Italian every time you have an article and every time you have an Italian word and a vowel drops, it leaves what I call a tear. Like imagine a vowel died and everybody else is mourning the vowel. So every time a vowel disappears, that's when you use the apostrophe. It's kind of it's there telling you there used to be a vowel here. We commemorate the vowel. So that's the feminine singular. Now moving on to the masculine. That's where I think understanding that Italian has many articles, not to complicate things, but to make them easier, to make them easier for the speaker to pronounce. So it's all about how it sounds. So the standard article for masculine words is il. Okay, so we would have il ragazzo, the boy, il panino, the sandwich, il teatro, the theater, and so on. So masculine words use il, which is an odd article when you ask me, because Italian likes syllables that are made up of consonant and vowel, but this one is a vowel and a consonant. It's a little bit weird, but that's the article for the when the word is masculine. How do you know a word is masculine? It ends with o in most cases. So ragazzo, panino, teatro, they're all masculine. So I'm going to say il. Now, when a word starts with a vowel, just like the feminine, so I'll give you a few words that start with a vowel. Amico, which is a friend, a male friend. Amico. Appartamento, which, oh, it's not gonna fit, sorry. Appartamento, it's the apartment. It's masculine, starts with a vowel. Okay. So what happens with these words? Let's say elemento, element. Instead of saying il amico, il appartamento, il elemento, we make it simpler by saying l'amico, l'appartamento, kind of went down, sorry, and l'elemento, because it's quicker. So it's the same as the feminine. But now, what does L apostrophe really mean? L apostrophe means that it's L and a vowel has been dropped. What vowel has been dropped? The O has been dropped. So the way I revolutionize the way articles are taught in Italian, it's instead of telling you that there's 7, I'll tell you the truth. The feminine has only la for singular and le for plural. Now, la can change to L apostrophe when it makes sense to change it to L apostrophe, which is when the word starts with a vowel. So the feminine has 2 articles, la for singular, le for plural, and L apostrophe when it's convenient. But L apostrophe is nothing but a variation of la. So again, you got la and le. We can do the same thing for Italian, for the masculine. The masculine singular has 2 articles. Forget 3, it's got 2. Il and lo. When we have an opportunity to drop the O of lo, that's when we have L apostrophe, but it's just a variation of lo. So you kind of reducing the number of articles to il and lo. So when do we use lo in Italian? Well, let's say you got a word like this one. Straniero. Now, straniero means stranger or foreigner. Straniero. When you look at the word, it starts with S-T-R. That's 3 consonants. If you know a little bit of Italian, or if you just heard Italian, you realize that Italian likes vowels a lot. And having a word that has 3 consonants, it's already a nightmare for an Italian speaker because it's kind of, it doesn't have vowels. Like, I'm gonna have to say 3 consonants without a vowel in between. That's already pain. Now imagine if we had to say the stranger using il. We'd end up with 4 consonants. We'd have il and then straniero, so we'd have lstr. 4 consonants are quite difficult as a sequence anyway. Italian is not going to have that. It's not going to allow that. So what Italian has done, so that it's easier to pronounce, it's replacing the il, which is an article that ends with a consonant, it's just changing it to an article with ends with a vowel. That way we can separate the sounds. We can say lo straniero instead of saying il stra. Because the one thing that you notice when you have il as the article, the il blends in with the word. We say il panino, il panino. Il sounds like the same word as panino, il panino, which might make it hard for you to pick up that it's panino because you're going to hear il panino. You're not going to say il pause panino. Well, because of that the nature of articles which blend in with the word, that can be a problem when the word has a strong sound at the beginning, like straniero. So to make it simple for you to pronounce, we change the article to lo. So it's only for sound reasons that we're doing this, to make it easier. Lo straniero. So what words would require lo? Whenever you have S plus consonant, for example, lo stadio, you got S plus consonant, lo stadio, so you got stadio, lo stadio. Lo scrigno, you got S plus consonant, even more. Scrigno is like a jewelry box. So S plus consonant requires, when it's masculine, requires lo and not il, simply because it's easier to pronounce. Also Z requires lo. You might say, but why? Well, because when you think about Z, Z is like ts. It sounds like a double sound. So it's a strong, harsh sound that you would benefit from not having to have il before, like il zaino, il zaino. These are the two things that you're going to be encountering most often, S consonant and Z. Now, other words that would require lo are gn, but there's not many words, so I wouldn't worry about that, like lo gnomo, the gnome. Like, for example, Y, which is not an Italian consonant, but we have words with Y, like lo yogurt. And for example, what's the other one? The X. Again, not an Italian consonant, but we have words with X. So it's lo xylofono. See, when you say x, got two consonants. And then GLI as well, but there's not enough words to even bother with that. Okay. So what happens when you have, so let's sum it up for masculine. Standard article is il. The second possibility is lo, and it's for S consonant and Z mostly. Now lo can change to L apostrophe when we have vowels. Okay, so we got two articles, il and lo. Lo can change to L apostrophe for vowels. Now, the one thing that I think most students and learners of Italian are not told is that because we use the article for sound reasons, it's not like a word owns a certain article. Like, it's not like panino must come with il. It's only that when we say the sandwich, it sounds better to say il panino. It's not like zaino owns lo. So like zaino only comes with lo. It does when it's one after the other. So we got lo zaino, because it sounds better to say lo zaino than il zaino. But what happens if I, instead of saying the backpack, which is zaino, I throw in the word bello. Oops. So let's get rid of panino, because it's not useful now. And let's get rid of amico. Now, lo zaino is what I say for the backpack, lo zaino. That's because Z doesn't want il before. But now that I'm using bello, I don't really need to keep lo, because there's no point saying lo bello when the article il could work just as well, and that's the standard article for masculine words. So il bello zaino. Now, different story, bello will change to bel, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. You know, I could say il grande zaino. Again, grande could change to gran, but don't worry about that. So whenever I throw in something in between, like mio, il mio zaino, my backpack, just because zaino uses lo doesn't mean that they always together, only when it's useful for pronunciation reasons. Okay, so going back to the feminine. The feminine has one article, la, which can change to L apostrophe when the word starts with a vowel. For the plural, feminine only has le. So we have le ragazze, le pizze, and le amiche, the girlfriends. So Amica would use L apostrophe in the singular, still uses le in the plural. You never shorten a plural article, so you're not going to have le and drop in the e, putting the apostrophe. You can only do the apostrophe thing for singulars in Italian, so that doesn't work. So you can't say l'amiche. Now, masculine has two articles, we said. Il, which is the standard, and lo, which is the one that we use for special occasions, which is z, s consonant, and then a number of other sounds like ny, x, and y, and y, gli. Now, lo can also change to L apostrophe when the word starts with a vowel. Now, for the plural, actually keep it. For the plural, the standard plural for Italian words that are masculine is I. So we got I ragazzi, I panini. So that's the standard plural article for masculine, I. Now, so we got il ragazzo, I ragazzi, il panino, I panini. When the word is a word that for whatever reason would use lo, for example, lo zaino, then the plural will use the other Italian article, which is gli, G-L-I, gli, gli zaini. Okay, so we have lo straniero, the foreigner or the stranger, gli stranieri. Now, gli is also, that's something that also students can tend to miss. Gli is also the article for words that start with a vowel. Why? Because when you think about the singular, we use L apostrophe for words that start with a vowel, which means we're using lo. And the plural of lo is always gli. So we would have, for example, l'italiano, the Italian or the Italian person, gli italiani. So, to sum things up, today we saw that Italian has a bunch of articles and that can be confusing, a little bit tricky, but it comes down to this. Masculine words have il for standard and lo for exceptions. Exceptions would be words starting with S consonant, Z, and X, Y, ny, and y. And lo changes to L apostrophe for masculine words that start with a vowel. So as a consequence of that, the plural of words that would use I is simply I. So il, it's I. And plurals that use lo would use ye in the plural. And obviously L apostrophe is also a variation of lo, so again it's ye. Feminine has one article, which is la. Now this la changes to L apostrophe when the word starts with a vowel. Both articles use le in the plural. So, I hope this clarifies everything for you. It might take a while before you get used to it, but really it's all about sounds. So go this way, use this approach. You're gonna use il for masculine words and I in the plural, unless you got reasons to not use il. In that case, you would use lo, but again, it's easier to say, instead of saying lo amico, it's easier to say l'amico. So just for ease of pronunciation, you're gonna drop the O and put that apostrophe there. So il always, unless you got reasons to use lo, or a variation of lo, which is an apostrophe, and I is the standard for plural, unless you get reasons to not use I. In that case, you're going to use ye. Feminine, much easier, only one article, it's la, which changes to L apostrophe when it's more convenient, which is when the word starts with a vowel, and the plural is always le. Okay, so, oopsie. I hope that was helpful. Now, if you'd like to learn Italian with me, I am currently offering live courses, which means courses where you get to learn Italian from scratch, from the very beginning. It's good if you don't know Italian and you're wanting to get started, or if you're preparing for a holiday to Italy, then this is really ideal for you. It's called Speak Italian from Day One, and it's 5 weeks, and it's live interaction, which means we get on camera every week and we interact. Plus, you got videos training you. But the appeal is that we get together and talk for an hour a week, actually 2 hours really. But go to the website if you would like more information. And until then, great pleasure, and I will speak to you very soon. Ciao, ciao.